right back, Charlie.
Arteta shout me, you know. Tomiyasu, Timber, Zinchenko back up. One goal wonder. Big up everybody tuned in. Times 3 intro. Smash the like button, comment, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Let me shut up and let you enjoy the thing. And again. Hey, we got 3 points in the Champions League. You know, they said Sevilla was going to do us that.
I think it's like.
Right, one last time.
So it's just always just that active and defending. I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on. People deluded, I'm back again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and in some cases, good night, wherever you lot are locked in from around the world. I hope you lot are having a great week. I hope you and your loved ones are in great health. And as usual, thank you very much for tuning back in and spending however long with myself. Big up the Twitch ones. If you're on YouTube, please smash the like button. Whatever platform, any talking points, conversations. Big up everybody already. Gary, you're the first comment I saw and you're always here. So big up you and everyone. You know, again, as much as I wouldn't say I like hearing my voice because I am talking to you lot, but I'm talking to myself. But as much as I like waffling about football and Arsenal, I love you lot's opinions. And definitely after results like yesterday, was it the most glamorous of results? 100% it wasn't, you know, but we saw Brazilians, you know, Martinelli scored in the Champions League. I think he scored on his first start in all competitions now. Jesus found his swagger again. And we got 3 points. It would have been a dark place if we ended the Sevilla game with anything but 3 points. And, you know, hopefully we can do Sevilla at the Emirates and just have a strong campaign in the Champions League. I don't know when our Champions League journey will end. I hope we can go all the way to the final, but we don't know. As Edu said, let's enjoy the competition. But it's nice to win. And although I don't think it was a glamorous game, I must admit I was quite nervous going to Sevilla. You know, they've got European pedigree. It's an away game. They've got a wealth of experience. Rakitic, Ramos, Acuna, Navas, this guy, that guy in the third. And you know, they did play well. And I also think we played well. And it's you know, you don't always have to be 1,000,000 out of 10. Naturally, I do think our passing watching the game again could have been a bit better. We definitely could have created some more chances. Very disappointed to concede shortly after taking the lead. That's something that's kind of been in our, well, the second goal and then it became 2-1. That's something that's been something of a problem of ours at the Emirates or in general at Arsenal this season. So it weren't pretty, but we did what we needed to do, really. Of course, I would have loved to have seen Odegaard turn up. But yeah, man, it is what it is. So yeah, people, man, we're gonna go over what Mikel Arteta said in the press conference. We're gonna see what the news tabloids are saying. Ramsdale once again has been linked with a move to Chelsea. Again, if you're on YouTube, take part in the voting. Let me see where we're at. I asked you lot in the polls, people, what is the priority for Arsenal? I should have put in January, but I put centre mid, forward, winger, and defence. And currently, 33% are saying central midfield. 52% have gone with a forward. Maybe that's to do with Eddie Nketiah's, you know, cameo off the bench yesterday. And the enigma, I describe Gabriel Jesus as an enigma, and he's not an enigma. We know how great he is. He's, you know, he's Brazilian, isn't it? He's wonderfully gifted technically. He's a fighter, all of these things. But with Gabriel Jesus, the only thing is goals, in it. You're too good of a footballer not to get 20 league goals in the Premier League and 20, 30 odd in all comps. And I would say with Gabriel Jesus, the difficult finishes he makes easy. The easy finishes he makes hard. I don't know why that is with Gabriel Jesus, but it's a thing. 13% have gone with a winger, 4% now with defense. I'm not going to lie to you lot, people. I agree with everyone who wants a winger and a striker, 100%. You know, and if we could have Gabriel Jesus and a next man, would be even better. Someone that can, you know, that's kind of able to score goals in a more cleaner prospect. Obviously, I would like a winger. Pedro Neto would be lovely to be, you know, you could have Saka and Martinelli, Saka and Neto and whatever. But I personally believe the priority in January and in to be honest, in the summer, among other things, because we can get this all done, for me, essential midfield, because defense, we've got some decent options. Zinchenko, Tomiyasu, Timber, Kyrgios, Gabriel, Saliba, Benjamin White, you know, on paper right now, and anyone else I've missed out. We've got David Raya and Aaron Ramsdale up front. Whatever you say about these players, Nketiah shown he can do a job. Jesus is the number one. You've got Trossard, where I always say I wish that where Trossard's concerned, you wish you could play 12 players because he deserves more minutes. But you got Trossard, Martinelli, Saka, Nelson, all of these guys. In the midfield, I think it's a bit brazy, really. I think, Partey, if fit, Partey in terms of quality is a quality player, but because of his age and his contract, I think Arsenal will move him on next summer or be open to listening to offers for him. Jorginho's a good player, but whether you're able to play for 38 games and do a job and have a medium in terms of a higher level of performance is another thing. Declan Rice is Declan Rice, really and truly. We spent 105 million, a record signing, but arguably West Ham should be demanding a couple million more. But it's just Declan Rice on his own, really. I don't think we have enough options. Obviously, we've got hella false number 8 roles, Havertz, Odegaard, Smith Rowe, they can all do that. But in terms of pure central midfielders, someone that's going to line up in place of Declan Rice or with Declan Rice, I think we're a bit short personally. You look at Jorginho, Partey, and El Nene, they're on the wrong side of 30. Their contracts are very delicate. Declan Rice is the only one that you could sit there and say is long-term. I think there's too much question marks. And there is times, like you go back to the Chelsea game, and I have to big up Arteta. I think he learned his lesson. As much as I think we've improved off the ball, we are a bit more physical, we're a bit tenacious. It does feel to a degree for me that we're kind of going against the grain in that, football's, I think Wenger said it a few years ago, football has become like NBA. It's physical battles in midfield. It's not really glee and passing and all of these things. And it feels like at times we're going against the grain. And I think Mikel Arteta learned his lessons from the Chelsea game in that, Zinchenko and Jorginho on the ball, their quality. More so Zinchenko was poorer against Chelsea. But in the defensive transitions, you're a bit frail. Tomiyasu has done well. And big up Tomiyasu because he's not the most glamorous of attackers, but he looks a lot more confident going forward. He's obviously doing well in the minutes he's getting, and it shows why you need a squad. But I think we need a centre mid. I think we need to address central midfield. Of course, I would like household names and all of these things, but if Declan Rice had to start from somewhere. Once released by Chelsea, West Ham gave him a chance. If we can find people that don't break the bank, which I don't know, but I don't think we're going to break the bank in January. I'm all for it. I think we need a central midfielder because, again, you play a dangerous game with Partey's injuries. Some games Jorginho can come in. I think there's a role for El Nene, but emphasis on the role. I think we're losing Partey in January to the African Cup of Nations, and actually, ironically, unfortunately, Tomiyasu to the Asia Cup, I believe, in January. So I personally think central midfield will be the priority and maybe another defensive body depending on Timber's rehab. And, he's not really a player. To be fair, he was on the bench, but Cedric as well. I think they're the areas. I do think if a bit like when we brought in Trossard, Kyrgios, and Jorginho, if there's deals to be done, we can do other things. But I could be wrong. I hope to be wrong. I can't see us spending whatever Wolves want for Pedro Neto in January. The same with Ivan Toney for Brentford, and half of these quote unquote big name players. Anyways, Declan Rice should take over captaincy. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want Odegaard to lose his captaincy, but Declan Rice, for me, is almost like he's the captain anyways, really and truly. Really difficult poll, DG. Truth is, all of them apart from defence is a priority. Gary, I'm with you. But I say that, and I agree with you, especially with defence, but I can see why we could do with another defensive body. And obviously, being linked with players is completely different from signing someone, but we keep being linked with centre-halves. Ornstein came out, for example, and said Arsenal are looking for a left-sided centre-half. So that's maybe someone that can compete with Gabriel, even though you have got Kyrgios there. We've been linked with, forgive me for mispronunciations, but Diamande of Sporting, Mark Gurhey of Crystal Palace. We've been linked with a couple of centre-backs. So there can't be any smoke without fire. Would it be too far-fetched to say maybe Arsenal are looking for another centre-half dependency, really? Because again, it's that age-old thing. If everybody's fit, which across the season can't be a thing, I think we're well stocked. We've got Benjamin White, Timber, Tomiyasu. They could all play there. Kyrgios as well, if anything's happening with Gabriel and obviously Saliba. But I wouldn't be against it. But for me, I think central midfield needs to be addressed. As I've said, I just feel there's too much, Edu was a midfielder. Arteta was a midfielder. The midfield battle is where games are won and lost week in, week out. And I feel there's too many question marks. And I think, whatever you say about Odegaard and his current form, and we'll get on to Odegaard, I think Odegaard's a piece to the puzzle. I think Declan Rice is a piece to a puzzle. I think we're two pieces of a three-man puzzle. That left 8, which I hope Havertz or someone can claim for themselves and do their thing. I still think there's question marks. And although I think we haven't addressed midfield, I have to assume we kind of have, because Mikel Arteta spent 105 million on Declan Rice, 65 on Havertz. That's pushing close to 200 million, if not beyond that, on two central midfielders. So I don't know if what I'm saying really holds weight. Big up yourself, Alex. Appreciate you, and I hope all are well. I'm not too concerned over Odegaard. He's top class and is being asked to be more defensively minded in Champions League, especially. Also, lack of midfield creativity means teams man mark Odegaard out of games at times. I agree with you, but I think, I do think football fans, not saying you, but in general, people, more than one thing can be true in the same realm, if that makes sense. I do agree with you in that, I do think he's suffering because he's having to drop deep. I do think he's being man-marked out the game. But simply put, in the last 2 games, you've just not done enough, Martin Odegaard. I'm not turning on you. He's still the class region. He's still my captain. Form is temporary, class is permanent. But I do think even when he was scoring goals last season, he's not really been the most creative of players, and I think his creativity has suffered kind of what Arteta is demanding of him off the ball, and that goes collectively for the whole team, really and truly. But yeah, I'd say Odegaard, it's testament to how good Odegaard is, really and truly. I would say 2 games for me, anyways. Sevilla, I didn't see you. Chelsea, you was terrible. The first touch was appalling. 2 games, really. I'm not going to scream and shout, but, when you look over them lot down the road and you see what Maddison's doing, you can't help but look at Odegaard funny, really and truly. And I do dream of a world where, one day if Saka and Odegaard's form isn't quite there, that maybe they can be replaced or dropped, really. And there's other players, like even in the Sevilla game, I don't know what it is, but I think the left-hand side was a bit more on it. Tomiyasu was arguably man of the match, if not Declan Rice, if not Gabriel Jesus. Martinelli didn't score from the left-hand side, but obviously he's a left-sided winger for us, and he bagged in that game. Jesus scored from the left-hand side. I don't think our right-hand side really provided much, which it's a bit weird because typically we're stronger down the right-hand side, and there has been times last season when we're relatively fluid down both, but it does feel like at Arsenal, there's periods where it's like the left-hand side is going to win us a game, and then the right-hand side, and then you're kind of lacking. And the left-hand side, I think it looked a bit better with Declan Rice over there, but when you throw Havertz there, Zinchenko's kind of been fit and not been fit. Martinelli's had injuries. There's not really been that consistency demanded over there. Truth is, I'm more concerned with spending a large chunk of our summer budget on a position that's not a priority, i.e. keeper. I've not seen enough to warrant making Raya signing permanent yet. I somewhat agree. I think the jury's still out, but I'm happy with Raya. I can't imagine Raya or Ramsdale's happy to be number 2, but we've got 2 quality keepers. I think Raya was decent yesterday, if I'm honest. Statistically in the first half, his kicking did look a bit shaky, but I think he did all right, and he made a good save at the end. And considering the fact that there's a lot of scrutiny over him, the last Champions League game, he made a mistake. He's playing in his homeland as well. It's a high-pressure environment against an experienced Sevilla side that aren't in the best of form. And obviously, we lost to Lens. We kind of needed to win. I think Raya can leave with a sense of pride. I would like to see, in fact, better yet, when, we were talking in the build-up to the game, I said I would have started Raya against Sevilla, but it was almost like not last chance saloon, but last chance saloon in the sense of if there's any shaky performances, then I think Ramsdale needs to come in. I don't think Ramsdale's going to come in against Sheffield United, and I don't warrant making wholesale changes, really, because we need to claim 3 points after dropping 2 against Chelsea, because after Sheffield United, midweek, we've got West Ham United, where you'd imagine there'll be some rotation, and then next Saturday, Sunday, one of them, we've got a trip to Newcastle away, really. So we kind of need to get that insurance policy of 3 points, if I'm honest with you. But I can't really, to be honest with you, against Sheffield United, you could make a case. I would start Saka. I'm not going to lie. I want 3 points. Saka makes us stronger to get that. But you can make a case of maybe Martinelli shifting over to the right, or Trossard coming in off that, or even Reece Nelson. You can make a case of, on current form, I don't think he'll be dropped, but you could say, listen, Odegaard could hold bench for a Smith Rowe. You can make a case of Smith Rowe starting in midfield. I don't know for Partey's fitness. And again, for as much as I like Thomas Partey, the best trait you can have as a footballer is just damn right being available in it. And we can't bet on Thomas Partey, really. I think Partey was available in the summer in the sense of, there was more pressing priorities in the summer. We needed to find a resolution over Lokonga, Pepe, Tavares, Balogun. Have I said Lokonga and Kieran Tierney and just all of those players? But so I don't think it was a priority to move out Partey like them. But I think Partey was one for the right price. If it makes sense, if we're able to bring in other players and do other things, I think we'll be open to listening to Partey and Partey offers. And he's contracted until 2025. I don't know what's being said internally at London Coley, but you'd imagine a decision has been made already on his contract. Obviously, good or bad form can pull a decision, but you'd imagine it's a bit like Granit Xhaka. You go back this time last year, we was hearing Granit Xhaka is going to sign an extension, and then it came out when he left that there was never an offer on the table. So, Mikel Arteta and Edu are smart men. They have to plan above and beyond, and not just them, every club. Half of the signings we see in the summer, talks with agents, dinners with agents and executives, they're happening right now, really. So I'd like to think there's that replacement, and really and truly. And that was really a disappointment for me last summer, if I'm honest, because I did think we'd get 2 central midfielders. As I said with Havertz, technically we did, but I thought you would get a Declan Rice and maybe someone of the Lavia ilk, someone that's like the little Partey, someone that, you know, is probably going to be behind Declan Rice and Partey, but can come in, do a job, kind of go through an apprenticeship year. And then naturally when a player is phased out, then yeah, really and truly. I do think for next summer, we need Declan Rice. For me, you need another midfielder there. You probably need 2 midfielders, like pure central midfield options. I would do with another 6. I think you could go with another 8, have all those false 8s as possible. I do think you could hang on for another season with a Jorginho and El Nene or Thomas Partey or 2 of the 3, but we would probably need to move beyond that, if I'm honest. Elite talking points so far, man. Agree. And to be honest, to go back to that Raya thing, if that's what Arteta wants, fair enough. Like, Raya was Arteta's first choice. You know, if Raya's here and Ramsdale's there, that percentage, I'm not saying I believe in it, but that percentage could be getting more points on the board. And I can see why. I don't think it's obvious. And I don't think Raya's, you know, grabbed the spot and Ramsdale's got no chance. But I do see in the build-up playing his temperament, maybe as to why Mikel Arteta wanted him. But things can change. At one point, Tommy Asu couldn't buy a game. Now he's come in. You know, at the first couple of weeks of the season, Arsenal fans, we were doing this thing where every player that isn't involved, their days are numbered. As you've seen as the season's gone on, people lose form. There's injuries. There's a need to shift tactics and dynamics. You know, every game's a bit emotional. We need a squad. And I do hope to see Ramsdale and Smith Rowe get some more opportunities, if I'm honest with you. I would say out of the summer signings, I would say Kai Havertz really, who, you know, reality is some of you are, big up you lot that follow me on a consistent basis. You hear me say at this moment in time, I think Kai Havertz's thing is off the bench, false 9, that kind of super sub kind of thing. It kind of led to, ironically, going long. When Havertz comes on, we start going long a bit more. And actually, I'm sure for Gabriel Jesus' goal, it was a long ball forward from David Raya. But I shouldn't be saying, like, you shouldn't be an impact sub as a £65 million man, 24, 25 years of age, German international Champions League winner. So I would say Kai Havertz is the signing. I was like, oh, what's going on there? Because I did think Ramsdale was harshly done by it, just signed a new deal, but I understood it. We want competition. We want to upgrade. We need to make tough decisions. If David Raya's the guy, then cool. I can see in his own way how he makes us a bit better. Declan Rice, I don't need to waffle. You see how he improves us. Timber, you see what he brings to the table. With Kai Havertz, it was more of a thing of, all right, Arteta, you know what? I don't see it. I don't see it, but you're the man that I trust. You know more about football than me. I'm not just going to follow things blindly, but I'll give the man a chance, you know. This is your sort of project, but it has to work. And right now, bro, midfield should be sorted. Like we should have question marks, but midfield should be sorted. Again, Edu and Arteta were central midfielders. So I find myself, I'm sure some of you lot have heard me. I probably sound like a broken record, man, if I'm honest. Agree with Gary, there's room for improvement in those 3 areas, but with Partey being absent, I do really think midfield needs a serious addition because apart from Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard, the rest are a level below. Meanwhile, our cover for striker and right wing are also lacking. They are. You know, it depends. Out of up front and winger, I changed my mind because on one hand, the striker's a priority for me, man. But unless we've done scouting and we found the new emerging striker, I'd rather wait to the summer. Because, for instance, you've seen everything from 60 to 100 million for Ivan Toney. Let's just assume we go near the higher end, 100 million. I'm not saying Ivan Toney's not worth 180 million, 180 to 100 million. But surely, people, if you're going to put them fees down in January, yeah, surely it makes, and again, don't get twisted, acting in the market in January, like you saw with Trossard, that can be the difference from winning and losing and where you finish in the table. But for them kind of fees, surely you're better off just parking it off in the summer where more players are going to be open to moves, where we don't know what the market is going to have to be saying. Because I like Ivan Toney. I think he, you know, in a better team, he'd score a lot more. I like his mentality. I like his experience. I like how he plays. I like his link-up play. I like the fact that he showed me he can score 20 league goals. But for the fees that Brentford are asking for, and obviously you look at his contract, he's got his 18 months from the January, 12 months from the summer, so he might even be available for cheaper in the summer. But the reality is Ivan Toney ain't played that much football. So for the quote unquote risk, how much reward is there for him to hit the ground running in January, which is a test in time? How many signings in general in football have banged in January? You know, I'm sure we signed Aubameyang in January. Bruno Fernandes, say what you want to say at Man United, he looked good in January. Ironically, Odegaard is facing a lot of criticisms, but look at the initial period, Martin Odegaard, when he first came on loan to the club, and then how it's got. So is he going to impact us? Because again, I know he's training now, he's playing behind closed doors, but he's missed months of football really. And for Ivan Toney, is it, you know, obviously moving to a club, it can boost your Champions League prospects, but does it make sense really and truly leaving? Will Brentford want you to leave? Because at this moment in time, You know, you move to a new team where you're going to have to adapt to Mikel Arteta's tactics and all of these things. You might do good or you might struggle, really, and that might cost you a Euro place, where reality is, you know, we're kind of going left with it. But you look at Gareth Southgate, you know, you got to put asterisks next to Rashford and Sterling if they go, because they can play up front and are considered the strikers with Southgate. So that's 2 strikers already. You know, Harry Kane's going, that's 3. And then, you know, for the 4th spot, I mean, Eddie Nketiah has been in the squad. We'll wish him all the best. But if you're trying to win the Euros, I don't know if I don't know if he can help you. And the fact that Tomori and Eddie Nketiah, I think for the Italy game for England, they were left out of the actual matchday squad. That tells you probably where they are in terms of Southgate's thinking. But, you know, Eddie's been called up, being serious now. Ollie Watkins done well. A fit Ivan Toney presents problems. You've got Callum Wilson. And then that's probably about it, really. So there are areas to introduce into the team. DG, after all these windows, we're still talking about midfield. We are. Els, big up yourself. Dermot, people for him in the back. Big up you lot, man. I do like Ramsdale too, mate, but they're both at a similar level with pros and cons in different areas. Unless Aaron Ramsdale polishes up his mistakes, it's the result. And that's what I mean. It's like they're both they're not faultless, really. You know, I wouldn't know what keeper you would sign, but I don't really care. I like Aaron Ramsdale and I like Raya, but I don't really care who's the starting guy, you know, really and truly. I'm not really got no allegiances. I think they're 2 quality keepers. If there was a keeper that was a level above them, like when Liverpool brought in Alisson, for example, and I can't see us doing it because we'd have to spend finances, but I'm not going to lie to you lot. If there was someone of Alisson's level that could be that talismanic figure, then to be honest with you, I'd do rid with Ramsdale and David Raya, because you can make a case. I'm not saying this, but playing devil's advocate, you could actually say neither are really convincing or good enough. Full stop. Big up the Philadelphians, man. Shout the Americans, them. Appreciate you lot. Rise up the likes if you haven't. Man said DG changed up and DJ'd on the rhythm. Allow me, man. Big up the Australians tuned in. So my thoughts on Ollie. Who's that? Forgive me. Oh, I think you mean Odegaard. Is that he's missing Partey? He's been affected by international duties. His team not going through. You know what? Some people will say that, and maybe that holds weight in that, you know, Odegaard, since the international breaks, looked a bit meaty, if I'm honest with you. Long-term centre mid, then forward. Moving on from El Nene, Jorginho and Partey is a big concern. But in January, I'd go for a striker. If Partey is fine, then move on in the summer. I mean, where Aaron Ramsdale, Smith Rowe, Partey, these guys, Jorginho, these lot are linked with moves away. I would have let none of them go in January, unless there's an assurance that Arteta, you know what you're doing in a degree, and we've got certified bodies in. I don't really want too much changing mid-season. The summer is where we can do things, because January we need to keep the momentum. Big up you lot tuned in from St. Lucia, man. Big up the West Indies. Long time, broski. How you been? Adam, I've been good, man. Jesus' only issue is his decision-making. I don't think he's a natural goal scorer, really, and I don't have any evidence, but I genuinely believe strikers are born, really. Like, I'm going off topic and he's not a striker, but you look at Jude Bellingham, he's obviously a great player. His dad used to be a striker in the lower leagues. How much has that has been ingrained in him in his DNA? Jesus is a lovely footballer, as you lot know, but is he born to score goals? That's been something that's harmed him at City. That's harmed him for Brazil because he hasn't got the strongest record over them sides. Arsenal, he's got a decent return, but it's not amazing. And that was the whole carrot of Jesus signing for this club, in that, you know, you weren't the main guy at City, but you was one of the guys. You come to Arsenal, you do all that City stuff you was doing, but you also scored the goals. And I know last year he had a big injury, but I don't know if Jesus can grab that 20 league goals as a minimum. I know the goals are shared around and all of these sort of things, which I want to continue, but we got 80 odd goals last year. We need to turn ourselves into a team that goes from 80 odd to 100 odd. That turns some losses into draws, some draws into victory, and ultimately more points on the board for us, really, if I'm completely honest with you. Rice doing a carry job at the moment as Odegaard is off form, just brings back the big game allegations. Hopefully he gets back into form, but who plays there and initiates the press from midfield, that's probably why, and he's the captain. I mean, there has been a lot of games, big games, Odegaard ain't turned up, but bro, let's not act like he didn't deal with, you know what, Spurs ain't a big game, maybe they're right, but he played well against Liverpool, he's played well against Chelsea. There's been enough big games. I'm biased to Odegaard, that's my guy, in it. So smash the like button. So it does pay me, but I can't deny what's in front of me, in it, and that, simply put, he's not doing the job right now, really. My thoughts is that we need more signings for better rotation of the squad, but players with a higher level and necessity in midfield. I hear that. Been saying I didn't mind Partey leaving as long as we replaced him. And there you have it, as long as he's replaced. I don't think there's no balance with Partey. I do think some of our fans talk like he's rubbish and he's easily replaceable. And I do think some fans do too much. But if we're not bringing in someone 30, Partey can't leave. Obviously, critics will say if the man's never fit, then it doesn't really matter, to which that does hold weight. Koku would be decent, but didn't he move clubs already? DG, would you sign a new left back in the next summer window? Because I think Arteta has given up on Zinni. Would you get Tierney back or go after a left back, Theo Hernandez or Davies? Would love 2 of those players, but they're going to cost a lot of money. I wouldn't say Arteta has given up on Zinchenko at the moment, really, because, you know, I do think Zinchenko's generally done well this season. He let himself down against Fulham, you know, tough period, I would say, against Chelsea, and rightly so, sub. But I wouldn't say he's given up because there's different games. Just a couple of weeks ago or months ago, people were on to Tomiyasu. Now Tomiyasu's flavour of the month, really. I think if Timber was fit, it might be something different. But there could be a reality one day where Zinchenko's moved into midfield. But I would like to see it because he plays there for his country. But I would love to have a conversation with Arteta and Pep Guardiola and say, you know, Zinchenko's played in a couple of roles. Why have you lot not been... why have you not had concerns not to play him in midfield? Or why hasn't he convinced you enough in midfield? Like, what is it? Because he is a centre mid. He's got eyes in the back of his head, all of them things there. And the only thing I could say is that Zinchenko's not really the most switched on defensively, which you have to be as a centre mid. Whatever way we look at the price tag on Tony or Watkins, strikers in world football is slim pickings. True. I think if we want the ideal striker for us, we'll have to splash the bank for either. And that's why I'd say wait till summer because, you know, I don't think we'll get Osimhen, but he's contracted until 2025. You'd imagine Napoli have to get rid of man in the summer, really and truly, or let his contract run down. So maybe we could throw a hat into that ring. We're always linked with Vlahovic, which we have again. I guess the fact that Arteta was looking at him a couple of years ago, there must be a willingness. I don't know. Again, we've been linked with Watkins and Ivan Toney. I'm not sure where you lot are at with there, but surely we could assess the market a bit better. And then you've got the Bonifaces, the Garassis, the Sescos, them kind of strikers there that are making a name for himself. Ivan Ferguson, I don't think he's ready right now to impact us and take us to a next level, but he's a star of the future. I'm not sure on the asking price Brighton would ask, and it's not like he starts week in, week out for them anyways. But yeah, that hinders the argument of Odegaard's ability then, because that means he's relying on others. Others are supposed to rely on him. He's the 10. He's more an 8.5, but everybody relies on everyone. But I just think Odegaard's just not doing the job, man. It probably is affecting Odegaard with the Norway thing, but I very much doubt once the game's kicked off, man are just thinking about, oh, Norway didn't qualify for the Euros. And if I'm harsh, you know, Haaland and Odegaard or not, you man knew you weren't rolling to the Euros really and truly. Odegaard just got to pick up the pace, man. Form is temporary, class is permanent. Odegaard's been here before in that fans have had question marks over him. You just got to, you know, put on your big boy boxes now and get it done. Bring Douglas Luiz in as a replacement. Another one that's going to be difficult to obtain from Aston Villa. They've obviously got a good project going on over there. You know, he's a key player to whatever they're trying to achieve at the moment. He signed a new deal. And they're probably, in my opinion, they're probably going to say 50 million for him. I think he's a good player, but I don't think that's value for money, really and truly. Edu and Arteta like him. So if he came here and upgraded the system, great, and he'd be a good option. But 50 million, I don't think is good value for money, if I'm honest with you. You know, again, we've read some reports that we value Pedro Neto allegedly at 40 million. Wolves value him at 70. We've seen everything from 60 to 100 for Ivan Toney. We probably have to look for the Kyrgios, the Jorginhos, the Trossards, like smart additions that don't necessarily break the bank in Jan. Do you think Havertz would play well in the Havertz? Sorry, do you think Gabriel Jesus would play well in the Havertz midfield role? No, you're not a midfielder. Kai will grow as a player. He will shine soon enough. Going to need to, man. There's a lot of the season to play. With Havertz, it's the right 8 or it's the right side 8 and false 9. He can play. Don't think he'll become our left-sided 8. Maybe some would say that's where his better football came from when he was over there at Leverkusen, obviously. As much as Havertz's price tag speaks of a definite starter, I think if he gets the job done off the bench by holding down a W or grabbing a late one, I'm perfectly fine with him being an impact. So realistically, he's not in our strongest 11 at this moment in time. But, you know, Mikel Arteta spoke of the impactors off the bench, and we've seen how vital this season impactors have been. You know, it didn't work. It worked to a degree against Fulham, but Fabio Vieira and Eddie Nketiah done well in recent weeks. Tomiyasu, Kai Havertz, Trossard's come and done the business for us on a couple of occasions. I think we've scored I think our subs have impacted the game. We definitely saw this stat, and I think I did it in an editing piece. I think we've got the most subs, or we're up there for our sub scoring the most goals. Bring Neto to the carpet, because when I think of Pedro Neto, it's right wing, but he's shown he can perform on the left, really. And imagine in the future, obviously Trossard's here for a couple of years, but I'll define Trossard as a player that's here for the present. Obviously, imagine having Martinelli, Neto, Saka. I'm definitely missing someone else out, but you get the point. Wavy guys. Big up yourself, MG, and big up Jamaica, man. Imagine Valverde beside Rice. I have to, and now I have to wake up and deal with what we've got, man. We need a creative partner next to Rice, someone who has the same attributes as Partey on the ball and can provide goals and assists. Turning on Odegaard is not smart. Everyone has bad games. I do think people should remember the past, but at the same time, people have to remember, like, it's a sport, what you're doing for me now. Needed Rice and Caicedo. Not really, you know, in hindsight. If I'm honest with you. Don't get it twisted. Caicedo, a lovely player. You know, I don't think you're as blessed on the ball as Partey, but you would have been a lovely option to have. But when I see the way, in hindsight, obviously money, we was never going to spend 100 million on Rice and Caicedo. It was just never going to happen, really. It was probably going to be either or. I don't know if we would have got Declan Rice had we have got Caicedo in that January we tried to get him. But when you look at the way we deploy Rice in his 8 role and the 6, and you look at the people, if Rice is further forward, Partey or Jorginho, for what I see with Arteta in midfield, I don't think Rice and Caicedo would have worked really and truly. Don't get it twisted. I would have loved to have had 2 guys that are physical, that are dynamic, that are 6s. Caicedo's obviously got ability on the ball, but I just don't think it would have happened really. But I would have loved Caicedo in the team. Partey is the most important player at Arsenal right now. Probably Declan Rice for me at this moment. It's probably Declan Rice, Saliba, if I'm honest, or Mr. Bukayo Saka, or slightly off the ball Martin Odegaard, regardless of the form. Odegaard is a good player, but I've seen he does go missing. It leaves a lot of questions, mainly why. Just needs to pull his pants up, really, man. And for me, it was, obviously, Odegaard is not the most physical in midfield, but I did feel for a large period you weren't really getting brushed off the ball as much. Yesterday, it was like a little boy playing against his dad and his dad's friends. He's just getting barged. The first touch against Chelsea weren't there. Odegaard's my guy in it, so I back him to get back, but I can't lie and not tell you what I saw, people. Bring Zubimendi. He had a good game last game. Mikel Moreno would be good. Partey is extremely underrated. When he's fit, we are title contenders. When he's not, we're pretenders, inconsistent. We spent Zubimendi though on Havertz's crazy decision, in my opinion. We need Douglas Luiz to replace Partey. If Arteta is obsessed with Saka playing every game and being the best, why would we spend on Neto? Just go for an experienced, proven player in that position like Gnabry and get the more moldable player in midfield. People saying Odegaard goes missing in big games is a myth. Last year, from what I remember, he scored twice against Chelsea, assisted against and scored against United, I think he meant to say there. Assisted against Liverpool. He don't, but this game, you could do a lot better this year. Do you drop Odegaard for Vieira? As I said, in relation to the Sheffield United game, I'm not for massive rotations because I'll need these 3 points, but you could make a case of Fabio Vieira or Havertz coming in for Odegaard. You can make a case of maybe Saka on the bench for Nelson or Trossard. You can make several cases across certain things. Tomiyasu should keep his space in the team, but I think we need 3 points, really. You know, on paper, we should be wiping the floor with Sheffield United, but as you lot know, what is on paper and actually what happens are different games, really and truly. And to be honest, anytime we've been a bit complacent as fans this season, these games have thrown up shockers. You know, Fulham, we was expected to handle business. We didn't necessarily. Spurs, we was expected to handle business. We didn't. Chelsea was expected to handle business. We didn't. And don't get it twisted. We should be moving to Sheffield United, but they're fighting for their lives. We're fighting for a privilege of winning the Premier League. They're fighting for survival. Some players will never touch this Premier League again. Some people will lose jobs. So we need to get 3 points. And if I'm honest with you, I like the fact that we beat City this season, but, and it sounds dumb, we need to beat the teams that we should be, especially if we want to be where we're at. And Sheffield United, no game's easy, as I said, but that should be a quote unquote easy 3 points. Like they should come to the Emirates after 10 minutes, that game is done. They should be going into that game in the tunnel thinking about whoever they've got next week, if I'm completely honest with you. Are we missing Jaca? I believe so. But Jaca isn't Patrick Vieira. Like, I didn't want Jaca to go. I think Jaca said, you know what, Gaffer, I'm trying to cut. I want to go Germany and that. Fair enough. I would have liked Jaca to stay to kind of tie us over because we're back in the Champions League. I wouldn't say it's a transitional year, but it's a transitional year. I would have loved to have kept him, really. But I think it's because of what we have or haven't done in the market. Havertz's concerns and, you know, Fabio Vieira he's done well, but he hasn't grabbed that number 8. Neither has Havertz. Smith Rowe ain't been given an opportunity. Zinni ain't played there. Obviously, Jorginho comes in for a couple of games, but I wouldn't say he's convinced everybody. And Thomas Partey's in injury. So I think it's more of a case of what we haven't done that has made Jaca look even better, if that makes sense. Don't get it twisted. Jaca's a very good player. He does his thing. I do think we could have used him this year. At this moment in time with him and Kai Havertz, would I prefer to have kept Jaca from what I saw last year to what we're having with Kai Havertz? Undoubtedly, I would have liked to have kept Jaca. Would I have signed Kai Havertz? No, but Havertz has my support like everyone else. As much as Odegaard's form has been poor for 5 games now, I don't think dropping him for Vieira would end well. It's essential Odegaard starts in my eyes. And it's the one thing that saves Odegaard is that he's the captain and what Mikel Arteta demands from the team in terms of the press. That's going to keep him there. Rice is important because he adds stability and control, but we need a player that can put us on the front foot in the transition going forward and also a player who is press resistant. I didn't know you were chatting about January. I would go nowhere near the market unless it's absolutely necessary. I'd rather keep the powder dry for the summer. I hear that, but I do, Gary, think it's essential we dip into the market in January where central midfield's concerned. I'm not saying it has to be a big name, but I think we have to. You can't drop Odegaard. His press on its own is vital. Trust me, if he was on the bench for 2 games, you would see how crucial he is to our play. I agree with that, but at the same time, if Arteta is training all of you lot to press, everybody should be able to press. And to be fair, Fabio Vieira, maybe not so much now. He looked all right. Didn't take his chances against Spurs, but he's looked all right. I wouldn't drop Odegaard, really, if I'm honest with you. I'd make one change. Maybe a Trossard could come in for a Martinelli if there's fitness, or for Saka, because we've got to tread carefully with Saka. And to be fair, I would start Saka against Sheffield United. But if there was a game we could get away with maybe Saka coming off the bench and having enough on the field at the time to get goals and get the result, it'd probably be that, if I'm honest with you. I want to see Odegaard left centre mid, Havertz right centre mid. It would help our wingers a lot more. Martinelli can get a passer to find his runs, while Saka can get a dynamic runner. I do think we'll see that because, again, I think I said this on the live stream yesterday or the day before. Do you not remember when we lost to Brighton a few years ago? I think it's Odegaard's first season, actually, when he was on loan, where we had the red kit with the slight blue on the side. If you don't remember, against Brighton, and it was probably suicidal in hindsight, it sounds crazy, but Lokonga was the lone 6. You had Smith Rowe and Odegaard, either side as rotating 8s. I don't think Arteta is just going to do one midfield. I think you'll see games where, you'll see a Partey, Rice, and Odegaard, or the long-term Partey replacement. But I do think you will see Rice as a lone 6 at times and with 2 rotating 8s. In the same way, you'll also see Rice kind of play as an 8. Really, Rice got another assist. He's been adding goals and assists to his game. Arteta really is working the magic. Yes, we're shameless. It was an assist for Jesus, but it's one of them assists where Jesus has done everything really. The manager said there was a possibility of a niggle to Jesus, maybe hamstring. Yeah, he did. Jesus asked to come off. Jesus says he doesn't think it's anything serious, but Gabriel Jesus isn't a physio, innit? We hope it's nothing bad, really. Timber wanted to continue, obviously, with his injury against Forest, and how did that turn out for us, man? Elite talking points from you lot. Big up you lot. I don't think Jaca is actually that good of a player. He just understood the system very well. Surely that makes him a good player, though. I think Jaca's a top player, if I'm honest with you. I don't think he's indispensable in things. There's a reason, whatever we have to say about Jaca, Mikel Arteta, Arsene Wenger, Unai Emery all know more about football than us. He was a key player for them. He still plays for his country. And Xabi Alonso, who's making a name in his own world, and is going to be a big manager, wanted Granit Xhaka, and Jose tried to sign him there. And I remember Arteta saying City wanted him. What do we think about Xhaka? And there's got to be a reason why he was played there. So I do think he's a good player. But I think Xhaka is here, and because of the issues that we're talking about with midfield, we're making out that Xhaka's up here, which it shouldn't be a thing. Remember the Bournemouth game 3-2, even though it was a memorable game, but I never want to experience that again. We shouldn't underestimate Sheffield United. In life, you shouldn't underrate anyone, man. Nah, it weren't 0-0. We definitely lost to Brighton, but Sambi started. Striker has to be a priority for me, not in Jan, though. In the summer, with a proper striker, Jesus can play right wing for us when Saka is knackered. I'm here for that. We'd drop/rest Odegaard at the weekend and try Vieira left centre mid and Havertz. I hear that, but surely if any, and again, it's a cup game, so I don't necessarily want players rested, but surely if there's going to be any rest, it's going to be Wednesday, Thursday next week against West Ham United, which again, I don't necessarily want rest. I want a strong team, etc., etc. But we've got a condensed fixture calendar list anyways. We've got a Premier League game. Then next week, you've got Newcastle United on the weekend. In between that, you've got the cup game. As much as with City going out, I'm sure everybody's licking their lips at trying to win the League Cup. You're in it, you might as well try win it. Surely that's where you see maybe experiments and rotations. I'm not sure I would really, even though you should be able to get away with it against Sheffield United, I'm not sure I really want to see that. Even Jose wanted Jaca. If them elite managers want you, then he's doing something right. True on him, but they must be smoking some good weed. Jesus is injured. Fat hamstring pull, not tear. 3 weeks out, maybe 2 if we're lucky. We hope for the best. We prepare for the worst. Does Raya get the clip for the next game? I don't think so. Ability-wise, when I think back to Jaca last season, I remember him getting caught on the ball, trying to turn and not releasing the ball. I don't know if it might just be me highlighting his bad parts. Probably not wrong. Jesus having a scan today, but he pulled his hammy last night. We're going to have to see how the situation develops. And I don't know when Mikel Arteta's press conference would be. You'd imagine it's on Thursday, Friday. That's when we'll have some light shedded. But then again, as you've seen this year, Mikel Arteta ain't giving nothing away with players' fitness and stuff. And it does take me back. There's 2 things that will always stand out for me with Mikel Arteta since he's taken his job beyond the obvious. it was when he said, we need to get the Emirates bouncing and stuff again and make it a difficult atmosphere. When I heard that, I thought, yeah, Arteta, how Arsenal fans are, but it's rocking. And if you lot remember, there was a time where there was a lot of leaks coming out of Arsenal to do with everything. And I can't find it on Google, but he said he promised to kind of exterminate or kill the rats or whoever's leaking information and whatnot. And since then, Arsenal have kind of been airtight. We took everyone around the houses with Saka. We've done that numerous times with Partey. And there's been numerous things we've done, people. I don't care who starts and go. Our fan base is clashing about something so baseless. Raya in entirety has been good since he came. Ramsdale's been great for us. And I think the way we're going as a football club, we need to stop. You can never not be attached to players. We're always going to have an attachment, but we have to understand, like, some people might not be first names on the team sheet playing all the time. We've seen it with Tierney, etc., etc. More concerned on Zinni and Odegaard's performances. Yeah, he said he destroyed the league or something crazy like that. And it's only now I'm like, okay, you really wasn't playing, really. Arteta needs to do an autobiography at times and tell us the tell-alls. And in fact, Wenger needs to as well. Wenger needs to say everything, really. We need a striker in Jan for sure. Jesus is injury prone, it seems. And then Nketiah is being played right now, so we can sell him for a good price because it's clear he's not good enough. I don't know if he's being sold for a good price, but I was very disappointed with Eddie Nketiah's cameo. I will cut an excuse for him. I don't know if he was injured. I do think it is difficult at times when you come off the bench to get up to the pace of a game. Those are the quote-unquote excuses I'll give you, but you looked more knackered. You looked way more knackered than players that played significantly more minutes, really. I was very disappointed in the cameo that Eddie Nketiah played, man. I don't know if he had a big dinner. He looked like he had a bit of curry goat, jerk chicken, mac and cheese. He looked like he really wasn't trying to play, man. He's probably falling asleep on the subs bench. And I would like another striker. I do think people are kind of harsh with Eddie Nketiah. I'm not going to lie. Do I think Eddie Nketiah, in the role he's playing, which is essentially number 2, arguably number 1 striker at times, because he has kept Jesus out of the team. Do I think we can go to the pinnacle where Arsenal can be with him? No, I don't. But I do think people act like he hasn't got a use here. But there is evident limitations. And for someone that I believe has just shy of 100 Premier League appearances now, 98 or something like that, someone that's 24, obviously Eddie Nketiah is playing catch up, because in the last 2 years, this has only been where you've been a genuine man that can start week in, week out. But it's now time to start showing up, if I'm honest with you, because the better we get as a club, we can't afford to, if you're not pulling your weight, we have to drop it, really and truly. If I'm completely honest. Elite talking points with you lot, man. With all respect to Eddie, performances from Jesus last night reminds me exactly why I don't want Eddie jumping back in the 11. The drop-off is crazy, and it's why a striker in Jan is a priority. I can't disagree with that. Because I remember time ago, we were getting hella leaked from Guendouzi and Socrates fight to Luiz and Ceballos fight. F me, we've had some dead players. I don't want Watkins or Tony. If we're spending top dollar, then the player has to be transforming our front line. Neither of those raises the standard enough for the price we would have to pay. Can't disagree with that. Replace Eddie with Tony and Jan. But again, you're going to have to give Tony time to get to grips with what Arteta wants. You're going to have to give Tony time to get real match fit, because he's missed however many months of football. You're going to have to ask him to impact immediately. And for the value, I'm not sure. Eddie must have had some edibles, man, really, because he was moving mad. I think we can get a top left back, because Zinni needs to go DM an 8 rather than a 6. I'd rather him play than Jorginho. Don't think Rice is the DM. I think he's the left 8. I hear that. And to be honest, I'd rather Jorginho, really, because I can see why. It's just with Jorginho, I've got concerns defensively, but I do think there's a use for Jorginho. If 2 outfield players drop a stinker, we most likely drop more points more times than not. It's crazy. There's more impact to the game if Zinni and Odegaard has a bad performance. For example, goalkeeper is hot and cold and subjective. You concede 3 and win. You can concede 1 and have a poor game. It's crazy. And I feel sorry for goalies, because you could save 99 shots across 89 minutes. But the minute you let 1 in, it don't matter no more. Where you look at strikers, you can miss 89 chances. Minute 90 comes, you score your 90th opportunity. You're a hero. Everybody loves you, but such is life, isn't it? As they say, you got to be a mad guy to be a goalie anyways. Eddie defo went raving day before the match. He was up on He must have been up on FaceTime to one of his babes, man. Get Santi Jimenez from Feyenoord. I don't know him religiously, but I like him, and I think that might be where Arsenal go. I do think Arsenal will attempt to sign one of these big money strikers, but these kind of lesser known emerging strikers is where I kind of see Arsenal going. Jorginho has 0 legs, but I can see why he plays ahead of Zinchenko in midfield. But I would like to see Zinchenko play in midfield. He plays there for Ukraine, so he can clearly do it. But it goes back to what we were saying at the start, in that I'd love to speak to Pep Guardiola, specifically Arteta. Why I know he goes into midfield in the game, but why doesn't he play there organically? Like, what is it in Zinchenko's game that either isn't to the standards of the other players or is a concern. I don't know. And I do think Jorginho has 0 legs, but I do think people make a lot of that really, because in the Chelsea game, there was times he actually got back. He was one of the fastest man and first man to get back when Benjamin White was out of position, which tells you everything. And then you've actually, on the topic of midfield, you've got Benjamin White and Kirill who can play in midfield. Kirill who spent a year playing there for Spezia, but they haven't been utilised there. And I do agree with you. Like when we have the ball, I'm confident with Jorginho. In the middle third, it's crazy. Like against City, you know it's more of a chess match. It's more of a football kind of game. Can get away with that. I don't think Jorginho should have come on when Declan Rice came off in the North London derby. It's too open on the transitions. I would say the best performance I've seen from Jorginho undoubtedly would have to be Newcastle away last year, if I'm honest. Our fan base way too harsh on Raya. I understand there's love for Ramsdale, but we treat every Raya mistake like he's just turned around and whacked the ball into his net. Ben can't turn on the ball, but I rate Ben. I like Ben, man. Tony's style of play would be good for us. We're underestimating how much we're missing a hold-up play striker good in the air too. Our wingers would suddenly get another arrow on their bow. And I think, you know, obviously, I actually like the fact that we're patient in our attacking play, but at times it can be frustrating. It's side to side. And again, you need to find that balance between being aggressive and being patient. But sometimes I think it's too scripted, it's too choreographed, it's too much of a result of the training ground. And as you said, we'd have more bows to our arrow. Just, you know, if 10 times we're going to, you know, wait for an opening, work it from the left to the right, from the right to the left, etc. You know, on the 11th, can we just put the ball in the box because we've got a genuine threat there, just to keep things mixing up, really and truly. And to be fair, Arteta must know that, because you look at Chelsea, we went a lot more direct. Against City, we went direct. Actually, yesterday for Jesus' goal, we went direct, really. So it's like we have that in our arsenal. But yeah. Caicedo hasn't exactly pulled up any trees at Chelsea. If he had played for us the way he has played for Chelsea, we'd be screaming the club wasted the money and dropped Caicedo. Let's have it right. He wouldn't have played for us like that. And to be fair, though, you are right. But surely there's got to be a bit of a Chelsea tax. Like Chelsea are in a transitional period. Who's really playing outstanding? You haven't seen the best of Enzo Fernandez, even though you've seen bits and pieces of his quality. So yeah, man. Only one striker, and that's the guy from Naples. All out for him. Osimhen's always going to have a lot of fans. Keep your opinions coming, folks. Let's actually see what Mikel Arteta has said in his post-game press conference. Again, keep your thoughts coming. We did promise to look at that. On Jesus' performance, really happy with that part. Big games for big players, and he needed to produce those moments to win in stadiums like this. He's done it, and obviously he opened the game for us in a great way. And then we're really sad because he felt something in his hamstring and he had to come off, and I'm worried about that. On if he preferred the goal or assist, he said both. I want to see the slow motion of the first turn. I think we both do, because he was so sharp, and the final ball he played for Gabby too as well. I'm really happy on his contributions this season. He came here for a reason. He changed our world. That's not the first time, nor will it be the last. Arteta has used strong language around that. He's brought us so much belief and energy to the team. He needs to step into those moments. That's why he's played, and he's done that. That's when a player becomes accountable to the team, and the team relies on those players to win games. We need players like this. You want to play. Go to Man City, then come to Stamford Bridge, then come in here. That's the level we are at right now, to come here and win. It's a big credit to the boys. On Jesus' goal scoring in the Champions League, for sure, he's been through a lot in the last few years, and he's still really young. He has enormous experiences, and some of them, while not the nicest, have been necessary to shape the player he is today. I'm really happy to have him in the team. On the importance of the victory, that's the Champions League, that's the group stages, and that shows you the difficulty of winning, how much you have to value that. Against Lens, obviously that result put us in a difficult position, and the team had to react. We are coming off the back of a period of very difficult games, and the team constantly has to step in and go against adversity as well, and injuries that we've picked up with some big players. The team is so willing and so determined to at least try their best. Obviously as well, RIP Bill Kenwright as well. It's sad. It's been a sad week or couple of days for football, if we're completely honest with ourselves, people, because, you know, Bobby Charlton's lost his life, and obviously Bill Kenwright. So thoughts are with their family. I'd go for Neto, Douglas Luiz, and Duncan Ferguson to increase our squad depth and sell Partey and Nketiah. Let's be nice, man. Let's be nice, man. Let's everybody be nice. Everyone's allowed an opinion. The world would be boring if we all thought the same, man. Let's be nice. Let's treat each other with respect, please, people. Let's not be insulting. DG, we got to take this Odegaard guy out for at least one game. Mikel is overplaying, bro. I hear you, but let that be West Ham midweek next week. Saka's crossing accuracy is underrated. I see how he found Bossart in the Chelsea game. It's true, but if I'm honest with you, the man in the screen here, Martinelli and Saka, I need more consistency from their corners, if I'm honest with you. So, yeah, man. Did anyone notice Odegaard was following Rakitic everywhere last night, stopping Rakitic's creativity? It looked like he was asked to do a job against him last night. And he did. I agree with that, Gary. But at the same time, you need to do that and more. Pardon me. Zinni is good when the opponent is playing a back line, but not against teams that press high. When it's a defending job, you're scared with Zinchenko. And to be fair, up until the Chelsea game, I know I mentioned Fulham at home. I've said it in a vid. I think Zinchenko in games where I was like, oh, you might be got at defensively, the United game. I think he came out of it well, but there's them evident frailties. I look at Anthony's goal last year. I look at Fulham this year. I look at obviously Trent. You know, and at some degree, you do have to accept footballers for what they are. Everybody's got faults. And this is where I would have loved to have obviously had Timber available, but injuries happen. Let's see what Big Gabby, well, Little Gabby has had to say. Big up Big Gabby, because it was kind of funny because, you know, Big Gabby cleared the ball. Jesus done the flick. Gabriel Jesus done the flick, and Martinelli put the ball in the back of the net. If I'm honest though, Martinelli should have had 2 goals yesterday, but Martinelli on his Champions League debut said last night, I was just in bed thinking about this moment and how it could be and how I want it to be. It couldn't be better. I think we played really well. I scored and the team won, so it couldn't be better. I'm so happy with the performance of the team. I love this man, Martinelli, you know, and I think his mentality will see him exceed a couple of expectations in his career, really. He's been defying the odds since he not only got at Arsenal, but in his career, obviously, got released by Corinthians, was in the lower leagues, had to wait for his chance at Arsenal. You know, what a player Gabby Martinelli is. He reminds me of Cristiano Ronaldo. And what I mean by that is the mentality, definitely not the ability with the greatest of respect, the mentality. And sometimes when a man's mentality and hunger and tenacity is there, that's why I think Martinelli could really exceed stuff. Like when you look at Arsenal's team and you said the players with the highest ceiling, I think I've asked you lot this before. I would say William Saliba, in no order right now, but William Saliba, there could be more, but William Saliba, Gabriel Martinelli, Bukayo Saka, Martin Odegaard. Who else? There's the next one I'm missing out, but you can't be certain. But let's just go with them for I'm sure there's definitely one more way. Odegaard, Saliba, Martinelli, Odegaard, Saliba, Saka. Let's just go with those 4. You could say Saka's got the highest ceiling. I believe that. But then I also think Saliba's got the highest ceiling. Then I think it's Saka. Then I actually think people underestimate Odegaard's. And then I actually think it's Gabby Martinelli. I don't know, people, but I think Martinelli's mentality might, because he wants it. He's hungry, people. You know, he's really hungry. But nonetheless, Big Gabby made the clearance to the other Gabby, and then he was amazing with a nice skill and played it to me. I just waited for the keeper, looked at him and thought I couldn't miss it again. It was good I scored. The guy is unbelievable. I've said it many times. He's so good, and I love to play with him. He's a big player. He's played in the World Cup, Champions League, and big games in his career, so he helps us a lot. He helps me a lot, talks to me, and today he was important for the team and for me, well, because he gave me an assist. Big him up for that. And we've already seen that. Apparently, in the first half, Raya completed 10 of 16 attempted passes in the first half, which equates to about 62.5%. That's the worst completion rate of any player on the pitch via James Ollie. Crazy. I think he done all right, really, but you know, everything he does is going to be scrutinized. Gabriel Jesus in his last 17 starts in the Champions League has 4 assists and 14 goals. Crazy, isn't it, people? You have to big up Tomiyasu and Declan Rice as well. Declan Rice had a monstrous performance. You know, he had 62 touches, 1 assist, 3 key passes, won 8 of his duels, completed 3 or 4 dribbles, and had a passing accuracy of 76%. And he's not, obviously, ball carrying is the same as dribbling, but I think that's one thing I love about Declan Rice. He carries the ball. He's able to cover distance, really. Big up the boys from Brazil, man. Martinelli has now scored on his first start in all of these competitions. League Cup, Europa League, Premier League, and Champions League. Crazy, really and truly. Tonight, yesterday, obviously, was the first time 2 players with the same first name combined for a European goal for Arsenal since Ian Wright set up Ian Skelly against Bromby in 1994. Crazy. Let's keep bringing them in. That was our first away win in the Champions League since we won 4-1 against Basel in 2016. How long have we missed this competition? And obviously it sees us return to the top, people. Gabriel Jesus had 6 touches in the up box, which was the joint most. 1 possession 5 times, had 4 shots, which was the most. Won 4 of his duels. 3 chances created. 2 interceptions, joint most again. Got 1 assist and 1 goal. So yeah, he seems to save his best for the Champions League, people. You look at the finish against PSV and today. Why don't we see that all the time? As you know, our next 6 games, we've got Sheffield United on Wednesday. Then we've got 2 away games, people, against West Ham United midweek in the League Cup. Then we go to Newcastle, which is a tough game. Then we welcome Sevilla to our place. Then we've got Burnley. And then we've got Brentford. And we need to beat Burnley because, company, you're a liar. I have not forgotten how you robbed us blind for that Lukonga money. You told us that was Yaya Toure. I'm on to you, really and truly. So there you have that. Gabriel Jesus is averaging over a goal contribution a game in the Champions League in his last 17 matches in the comps. I don't know what comes over him in the Champions League, but there you have it. Arsenal explain why Partey missed the game last night, people. Apparently he had a muscle injury, allegedly. So I'm not too sure what that is. But again, Partey and injury, they've been synonymous at his time at Arsenal. So I don't know why that's the case, but there you have it, really. What are you lot saying before we continue? Reminder, Big Gabby started that move, so all Gabby's involved in Martinelli's goal. The team needs to work on how to defend corners. Conceding simple goals is not the character of a team going for a title. You don't just drop your captain, especially when incoming players are not up to his level. Odegaard has to be played to find his form again. He also needs a little rest too, in my opinion. So, Frank, I agree with you, but if you're saying he needs to be played into form and rest, he can't win, innit? Really. Do you think it's worth dropping Ramsdale for Raya when he's not planning to stay with Arsenal? He said he wants to go to Spain. If Ramsdale goes and he does, it's the same old Arsenal no keeper. To be fair with you, slightly out of context, Raya said one day I'll play in Spain and stuff like that. And obviously he's a Spaniard, didn't it? I'm sure Mikel Arteta wants to manage in Spain. I'm sure Saliba's got ambitions as much as he's an Arsenal fan to play in France on a more consistent basis or play for big clubs in Spain. Obviously these men are not. They didn't grow up through the academy. They're not Arsenal fans. That's ambition, innit? I'm not really onto them for that, really and truly. I actually like the fact that you've got your career panned out, and I don't think that means he's not committed necessarily. So yeah, man. Odegaard has been poor, but he isn't receiving the ball. He needs to do what he did against PSV and Bournemouth and drop deeper to receive the ball and make things happen. Why can we play with Jorginho in midfield and not Zinni? He might do a better job, and he isn't as bad defensively when playing from that position. He does that role perfectly for Ukraine. He could do it. An unpopular opinion, I think Jorginho's better defensively. It's just Jorginho ain't got the legs. But you are right, man. You know, if one can do it, why not? I would like to see Zinchenko play in midfield organically. But as I said, I would love to know why Arteta and Edu, not Arteta and Pep, sorry, why, they both had concerns about that. DG, to be fair to our fan base, jumping on any Raya mistake is because he was brought as a level raiser ahead of Ramsdale. So we can't bench Ramsdale and have Raya playing in games as well. It's true, but there's a fine line between constructive criticism, which every player deserves, and scapegoatism. As much as I don't want to make mistakes happen, innit, really, and things like that. And it's going on to agenda. If you're fairly criticizing him and questioning legitimately how he's a level raiser, that's fair. But there's some people that love Ramsdale so much that, they'll get at anything. If Raya blinks, he should have blinked a second ago. And there's some people that, don't like Raya. I mean, there's some people that that hated Ramsdale, so they'll just condone anything. Neither are really true, in it, really. Our right-hand side of the pitch has been really inconsistent this season. White, Saka, and Odegaard haven't really been clicking. Can understand why Arteta doesn't drop any of them, to be fair. It's true. But statistically, Saka's doing his thing, really. But I just hope that, they can click into gear sooner rather than later. Tomiyasu really thriving in the inverted left-back role, made an impact against City and Chelsea. And for me personally, was our second best player on the pitch. He done his thing yesterday, and it's a bit harsh that I think Tomiyasu, way before we put in the 2 goals, I think he was man of the match, arguably. Obviously, I do think you got to give it to Jesus, but he's up there along with Declan Rice, if I'm completely honest with you. For me, Tomiyasu just looks a lot more, you can tell, I don't know how to put it, but Tomiyasu's a bit too humble. It's like, you can tell, and he said it himself, really. He looks like a man that doesn't know how good he is. He can go through self-doubt, and he kind of doubts himself. So it's nice to see Tomiyasu early in the game had a shot. For me, it's lovely to see Tomiyasu looking a bit more confident, looking a bit more comfortable in that left-back role. Because when I this left-wing inverted left-back role, Tomiyasu is quite conservative. He's not the most expansive or the most creative player in the Arsenal team, but he's improving in the final third and his general play in that regards, in my opinion. So long may it continue with Tomiyasu. If you've got Tomiyasu, Timber, Zinchenko, all of these guys at their best of the form, then it's positive headaches for Mikel Arteta. And ultimately, it makes us a lot stronger as a team. So bang on the money, man. Long may it continue for Tomiyasu. And I just hope Tomiyasu can stay fit, man. Would you say that Arsenal struggled at Sevilla last night? Nah, I wouldn't say we struggled. It weren't the most amazing of games, but I wouldn't say we struggled. I've already seen this. We've already seen that. Sorry. Bringing up 2 comments, apologies. True that, DG, big up yourself, perspective on point. Appreciate that, my guy. No one's right, no one's wrong, man. I've seen that already. But yeah, man, mistakes happen, really. No one's going out there to make a mistake, but it's football. You're going to concede goals. You're going to lose the ball in the transition. There's going to be lapses in concentration. But I wouldn't say we struggled against Sevilla in a sense of, the same old in that. I'm disappointed with the goal we conceded. I'm not only disappointed with the goal we conceded, we've just scored the second, really. And that's been something that's affected us in the Premier League. I still think chance creation and chance conversion isn't quite there. I like what some of you lot are saying. I think our left-hand side, you know, which hasn't got the stability, you know, you can make a case of, you know, Odegaard, Saka, Benjamin White, their first names on the team sheet. I don't feel the right side really had enough to it. I would have liked more goals. As I said, I think chance creation and chance conversion could be a lot more. I think both teams, it was a bit of, it was like a stalemate, really. It weren't the most glamorous of games for a large part. Both teams had plenty of possession and showed they were up for it, but both keepers were pedestrians, essentially. I think in the second half, it kind of sparked into life, I believe, when we got that second goal. And to be honest, from minute 44, when we scored Martinelli's goal, to around 53, 54, whenever Jesus scored, I think that was our strongest period. The game kind of kicked into life after the second goal went in, but I wouldn't say we struggled, man. You don't always, obviously, I want to see a 10 out of 10 performance all the time, but that, you know, the way both teams are going to set up in the context is that was never going to happen. Sometimes you don't necessarily need to do that. You just need to get the job done. We struggled in the sense that we're supposed to be a top team and we didn't look like one. I don't think it was the worst performance, man. The second half of the season would show us if this approach to games would be worth it. Seems like we're going for more tempo control. I hear that, and I'm not saying you, but that just sets up a separate argument. There's a lot of Arsenal fans saying we're conserving energy. I'm sorry, but I think that's nonsense. How do you conserve energy? You've seen all the games, whether we played against the top six or the smaller teams, they've been high drama, they've been high demanding. Like, do people honestly think players are going out there and saying, you know what, in January I'm going to run a bit more, so I'm not going to do that now? I think it's BS. That's not what you said, but I just think that is. And hopefully the teething problems we're going with Arteta tweaking the system and trying to add more layers, hopefully in January or even before that, it clicks into gear. Because as you know, from January, it's business now. It's just about 3 points. From January, we need to get to April, still talking about what we're talking about. And then from April to May, boy, just get the results. Don't care how you do it, just get the results. That's all that matters. Eddie Nketiah was conserving energy yesterday. Eddie Nketiah's battery was dead, man. That's why there was no phone call. It was dead, man. He needs a new charger. He's got one of them bookie ones from the corner shop. Eddie Nketiah, I don't know what he's on. But to be fair, I don't know if Eddie was carrying an injury. I don't know. As I said earlier, I don't know. Sometimes I think it's difficult for a player to come off the bench and get to grips with things early doors. He could have been carrying a bit of fatigue. You know, his energy levels might be low, but it weren't a good cameo from Eddie Nketiah, if I'm completely honest with you. 72 likes. Can we get to 100 people? Smash the like button. But let's carry on with this as well. Gary O'Driscoll has delivered a very firm message over the future of Pedro Neto amid claims Arsenal and Liverpool are pushing to sign the Portuguese star in a 50 million plus deal in 2024. 50 million is about right, in my opinion. I think that's a good fee. What has he said? As you know, he's contracted until 2027. So, boy, it's going to cost a lot of money, and they already let fellow Portuguese stars Nunes and Neves go. So who knows, people? He's been incredible. Not just he has massive quality, as you can see, and you see every week the way he trains and the way he's been buying into everything. I've asked of him in possession and out of possession, the way he drives to improve, the way he sets the standards. That's got to be music to Mikel Arteta's ears. He's incredibly happy at Wolves. He's enjoying his football. He's rediscovered some fantastic form. All of truth. He's had a tough couple of years with injury and form. He's been performing at his best, so he's incredibly settled and happy at the club. We're going to try and help him achieve some big things while he's here. Fair enough. To date, he has 12 strikes in 120 appearances for Wolves, which equates to 10 goals in 100 Premier League games. The output needs to improve, but as you've seen, he started the season blisteringly well, people, if I'm honest with you. Apparently, he said, oh, that's in relation to Wolves, respectfully. That's where they could finish. Apparently, he's got a valuation of 50-odd million. Do you know what? I would do it. If that can be done, I would do it. But if you told me Pedro Neto for 50 million in January, or Mikel Arteta says Zubimendi or centre mid, I'm not going to lie to you. Even though I more want Pedro Neto, because he's got the X factor, I think we need to move for some central midfielders. I think, God forbid, but I think if we suffer an injury or suspension or any funny business in midfield, as I've said, I think we're going to live or die by midfield. If there's any funny business in midfield, I think we're in big trouble. I'll be brutally honest with you lot. We've seen this before, but Chelsea are preparing shock January bid for Aaron Ramsdale with Arsenal goalkeeper stuck behind David Raya pecking order. You don't go in January, because then who the hell is the backup keeper? Big up Carl Hein, but in the little occasions you see from him, he's not ready. He probably needs to go on loan himself. Chelsea could cash in on Arsenal current goalkeeping situation by making a January move for Aaron Ramsdale. We'll have to see. Despite Arteta claiming he would rotate his two goalies, Raya started all 6 Premier League games since coming in to replace Ramsdale. Raya has conceded 6 goals in that period and displayed some nervy performances, but it looks likely he's staying put as Arteta's first choice. The situation could see Ramsdale look elsewhere for first-team football, and according to Ben Jacobs, Chelsea could swoop for the 25-year-old in January, people. Fair enough. I mean, give us 50 million and keep it moving, really, and a decent sell-on clause. Romano has spoken on Ramsdale, people. The Aaron Ramsdale situation could be one to keep open, but at the moment, I'm not aware of any negotiations. The goalkeeper market is a bit different from outfield players. It's not easy for a goalkeeper to find a top club who can guarantee playing time. And would you necessarily get 100% playing time at Chelsea? They've got Sanchez. If you look around top clubs in the Premier League in Europe, almost everywhere will have a goalkeeper they're happy with. It's not easy, so goalkeepers usually move in the summer where there's a dominoes of keepers. Fair enough, people. What's this? This just see Arsenal and the face of Sasha Boy. What has he said here? We've seen this link since he joined Stellar Agency in the summer, but he's never been close to a move. There are no negotiations as of now, as Galatasaray consider Boy a key player. His price was already around 30 million in the summer. Fair enough. So that's that on him. Arsenal, why Chelsea and Arsenal want to sign Ivan Toney? What is this? How do I get this off the screen? Okay. I mean, is there anything new here? That's just talk. We've seen this with David, with Thomas Frank, David Rice's former manager. So we'll have to see. But for what it's worth, I'll read it to you. Look, so far we've only sold one, which was David Raya. This was a few months ago, but probably we will sell him in the future. So that tells you Raya is a loan, but all but name is permanent. Every club in the world is a selling club except 5 or 6. We are a selling club if the price is right there. And I think it is the right timing of a player to go. That's not my decision. If they develop well with us and prove they are good to the top clubs, then it's the right thing if the price is right. When asked with Tony, he said, yes, I think so. I understand why there are a lot of rumors out there. As a striker, number 9, I don't see many out there that are better in the world than him. Of course, we have Lewandowski, Harry Kane, Haaland, and these types, but not many. Allegedly, one source close to the situation told ESPN that Brentford would demand a transfer fee of around 80 million for Tony. And he's drawn interest from United, Spurs, Arsenal, and Chelsea, allegedly. He did say on the podcast, the next club I go to if I was to move would be the right club. I've been a Liverpool fan my whole life, but from young, I've liked Arsenal. I've always liked watching Arsenal and how they play and how passionate their fans are. I'm a Liverpool boy at heart. I mean, you'd be a bit peed off if you're Brentford saying all of this, people twerking for this club and whatnot. Fair enough, man. We all know we could do with a striker. I'd prefer this man here. But yeah, I don't know if Ivan Toney presents value for money. Nico Williams at Atletico Bilbao. 1 minute he's getting closer to signing a new contract, and then he's not. And apparently Premier League clubs are monitoring the situation. We have been linked with the 21-year-old Spanish international before. It was expected Williams would sign a 2-year contract extension over the summer, but an agreement's yet to be found, and he faces the prospect of being allowed to walk for free. Aston Villa, who, getting a lot of Spaniards over there like their gaffer. Aston Villa, Arsenal, Liverpool, Spurs have all clocked in to check on him, and he's also drawn interest allegedly from Bayern Munich and Juventus. Everybody's interested in everyone. Whether people actually going to correlate that interest to buy people is another thing. Mason Nketiah of Sunderland, who's been on trial at Arsenal and has been linked with Brighton, is now drawing interest from Rangers. He played last week for Arsenal's under-18s in the Cup against Middlesbrough. I don't know if that's convinced Arsenal to sign him, or they're always just having a look at him with an eye of moving for him in the summer. Again, we're still monitoring Douglas Luiz following a failed move last year for him, people. Apparently, we're also looking at Fluminense's Andre, who's a key target for Liverpool. We've also scouted Jaron Timber's brother, Quinton Timber, who's doing all right. Arthur Vermeeren, who's playing for Royal Antwerp, who I'd like. And Javi Guerrero, who's a 20-year-old doing all right at Valencia as well. I don't know how much they're going to ask for Douglas Luiz, but they're going to want a lot of money. Apparently, Edu and Mikel Arteta individually are big fans of his, and they're keeping a close eye on stuff. Apparently, for what it's worth, Aston Villa do not intend to even entertain offers in January, while Luiz himself is committed to the club and wants to help them qualify for the Champions League. Partey to consider Arsenal future if reduced role continues. Thomas Partey, well, we're frustrated with you not being able to say fit, mate, but Thomas Partey is frustrated with his reduced role at Arsenal and will consider seeking a move away from the club if things don't improve by Christmas. Bro, Partey, shut up. You can bust out in the summer. And to be fair, these things are always going to be said. These articles can make themselves, people, for what it's worth. As things stand, Partey is willing to put the work in to reclaim his place in the side, but sources have confirmed to 90 Minute that he'll consider his options at Christmas if the situation has not changed. Arsenal had indicated a willingness to sell Partey early in the summer transfer window, but ultimately decided to keep hold of the Ghanaian despite interest from Saudi pro clubs and Juventus. But whether or not their stance has changed remains to be seen, given they are making no secret of their desire to sign a new defensive midfielder. We've been linked with Andre, we've been linked with Douglas Luiz, we've been linked with the young 18-year-old, we've been linked with, I haven't seen this, but Pablo Maya, whoever that is, and Moscardo over there at Corinthians, people. Bring me Zubimendi, man. Where's the Zubimendi links? This just linked us with Andre again. We've read that. We've been linked with Juventus, linked with Vlahovic of Juventus. Arsenal continue to maintain their interest in Vlahovic. The Gunners failed to make a move for him in the summer, but intend to do so in the next transfer window. Juventus continues to receive expressions of interest for the Serbian striker, who also likes Chelsea and Atletico Madrid. However, they're not intending to let him go. And there has been rumours he'll get a new deal. We've seen this with Gary O'Neill in relation to Pedro Neto. I don't think anyone cares about getting apologies from PGMOL. Sorry, we can't replay the Chelsea game. It's not Chelsea's fault. It's not Arsenal's fault. Forget your stuff, your apologies where the sun don't shine. I think I speak for every fan. Jorginho, in the build-up to the Chelsea game, has admitted he hasn't thought about his long-term future, people, and said he hasn't had any conversations about a new deal at Arsenal, even though he has an option of another one. No, I haven't had any conversations about a new contract, to be honest, he said. All I can say is that I feel really good here. I'm really happy at Arsenal. I haven't thought about it, to be honest with you. I've only been thinking about tomorrow. There you have it, people. I think we have so much potential. Of course, it's a young team. It's a competition that's going to make all the players grow. We need to take it step by step, enjoy the moment. We need to leave a little bit of a question to focus on the next question and focus on the next game tomorrow. So with that being said, I think that's it. I think this is in relation to Mr. Mason Kocher, who we've spoken about already. So that ends any sort of current talking points and news and things like that. 83 likes, people. Can we keep going? So yeah. Jorginho was decent against City, to be fair, but Newcastle game, he was top class. Partey can go. If you're bringing in Partey, someone that takes his role, I'm all for that. Reduced role, Broski needs to pattern that reduced fitness level. Big up yourself, my dude. The day he tried to flick the ball over Rice's head, he was done out here. He got embarrassed there, to be fair. That, and when Rashford done him at the Emirates last year, I was vexed. Sleeping on Tony, scored 20 league goals in a bad team. Bit harsh to call Brentford a bad team. You think Villa can get top four? They have a serious midfield and attack. Boy, Newcastle showed you can do it, really. And Aston Villa have what they're playing in one game a week, or they in Europa. I could be wrong, but Unai Emery is a guy. He's shown he thrives off the underdog stuff. They've spent well. They're in great form and they're doing their thing, really and truly. I think it will be a big ask because I don't want to talk too much on Arsenal, but I'm confident we'll be in the top four. I hope we'll be in the top four. Regardless of what happens, Manchester City are going to be there. I think Liverpool will creep up into there. I don't want to praise them, but it don't look like Spurs. Spurs got one game a week. They're playing bloody amazing. They're probably going to be there. You've got Newcastle there, and United look a bit woeful, but they have shown they have the ability to put in results. The house always wins. The PGMOL is how the house always wins. Then betting companies are more powerful than most fans can comprehend. When was the last time Partey played 3 games without getting injured? I love his game, but he's a liability. To be fair, generally, I agree he's a liability. But last season, Thomas Partey was as fit as he ever could be. I agree with you. I'm never confident with Partey being fully fit. But we have to be fair. Last season, I think he was fit for about 30-odd Premier League games, if I'm honest with you. And the very fact of, swear down, this tells you everything. Wait. Thomas Partey's only played 85 Premier League games. And 104 times for Arsenal in total. So, yeah, the best ability is availability. If I go back to last season, Partey's only played 4 times this season in Premier League. Mad tick. If I go back to last season, he played 40 times for Arsenal, 33 out of 38 games in the Premier League, if I'm completely honest with you. And to be fair to him, as much as I agree, I'm never confident he'll be fit for 3 games in a row. I think he did have 5 problems at the start, which again, we needed to sign midfielders, as we said then, because we rocked up to Old Trafford with Lokonga coming off the bench and Eldene was asking for issues and stuff like that. But he was fit by his own standards. And Tierney them times there. Can't wait for Maddison to get injured and Spurs inevitable downfall. I like Maddison. I won't pray for injuries, but they're going to have a reality check soon. Will Partey ever play away versus Spanish opposition? I've seen the rumors on Twitter. I don't know. I just hate every week checking news to make sure Partey's fit. You're not alone. You're really not alone. You're not alone. Like I said, I agree with you. I'm just being fair to Thomas, really. Like I'm a fan of being fair, if I'm completely honest. Been discussing this at work about Ramsdale. If we get a good enough offer, I can't see us saying no and Ramsdale not wanting to go as much as he clearly loves Arsenal. This 2-keeper thing is bookie. As you always say, what are you? Are you a midfielder or a winger? Too many jacks of all trades isn't ideal. I hear that. Let's get Højlund from United. I think he'll be a good striker for them. I'll take Dani Olmo from Leipzig as a left 8 and keep Havertz centre forward. Problem is we have so many utility players like Smith Rowe and Vieira. They're not that ready to play either midfield or attack. So whoever we bring in mid or attack, someone's minutes will go down. So alone it is. On the keeping issue, if the Sevilla attackers capitalized on Raya's 2 passing mistakes, or if his sliced punch went into the back of the net, our reaction about his game would have changed drastically. Khalid, you're right, but that's football, isn't it? Like, obviously, it would have been a different reality. So naturally, we'd be talking about other things. Thanks, DJ. I disagree with other YouTubers saying we struggled last night. Big up yourself, T-Bones. So, yeah, man, it is what it is in that regards. Havertz and Jesus playing off each other in the midfield is probably the best for both of them. But how good is Havertz's hold-up play, though? Like, don't get it twisted. I'm a big fan of going direct, but it's very different. Like, how effective is Havertz going to be as a false nine across 90 minutes? Just for argument's sake, if we're banging it to his head and his chest, are we going to see this hold-up play that we're waffling about? I don't know. Damn, that's a mad step. Last season was his best in an Arsenal shirt. That's why I give him that luxury. Think there's a few replacements. Douglas Luiz, for me, is the best fit in terms of like for like. There's also Paulinho and also English midfielder Jude something. I mean, we're dream chasing with Bellingham. That one there's gone. I would love Paulinho from Fulham. I think he could do a job. Odegaard needs Partey to be back to his best. I hear that, but bro, like we've been here before, man. That just takes me back to Mesut Ozil. As great as he is, we need a striker, we need a defensive mid, he needs wingers, he needs this, and a lot of that is true. But you need to play good for yourself because you've done it. You know, when Partey weren't playing and Odegaard was showing up, we weren't saying this. So I don't think you're wrong. But as I said, I think two truths can be held in the same realm. But at what point do we just say, as much as I like Odegaard, bro, you need to fix up for yourself? It's irrelevant because I don't think against against Chelsea, you didn't need Thomas Partey to fix your first touch. It's crazy. That's the first time I've seen Odegaard's first touch not be good. I have no right to talk about Martin Odegaard when it comes to football, let alone a first touch. But that Chelsea game was spooky. And Odegaard isn't the most physically imposing. But the Sevilla game, he was getting brushed off the ball, on top of being ineffective. And I hear it. You're pressing off the ball. You're man-marking Rakitic. That's great. But you're getting barged far too easily. So Jesus out for 3 weeks. Who do we play, Eddie or Havertz? Eddie and Nketiah. And I just think Havertz is better, more likely to impact the game off the bench. Really and truly, if you go with Havertz already, it is what it is, really. None of our centre mids can pass the ball to Odegaard through the lines. Bit harsh. Partey can do that. Rice can do that. Jorginho can do that. 6'3" German international, it could certainly be tried. Bro, run either one, really, man. If I'm honest. Odegaard putting performances with Sambi. I'm not hearing it, Charles. Looking at the numbers, Odegaard has started every game this season, including 150 minutes this international break, 166 in the last. Is it weariness in the legs? It probably is. As I said, it's probably a bit of everything. Odegaard does have to drop a lot deeper. Arteta runs players into the ground. It's true, but at the same time, like Arteta says, the best players have to be able to play 60, 70 odd games, play 3 times a week. I think the only issue is that teams aren't giving him space. Also, we don't get the ball to him fast enough. I think he has to drop far too deep. It's a bit like Bukayo Saka. Now, obviously, you know, you're going to have to pass backwards, but too many times Saka's on the halfway line or near the halfway line receiving the ball. Now, Saka's a quality player. He can dance past players, but over 90 minutes, every time he gets the ball, he's not going to be able to brush past 4 or 5 players, really. I want to see Saka receive the ball higher up the field. Eddie, because when he starts, he won't conserve energy like he's a solar panel. Do we rotate Trossard for Martinelli for Sheffield United? Martinelli put in a serious shift last night. You know, Trossard could get some minutes. I probably would start Martinelli, but you can make a case of Trossard, and Trossard deserves more minutes. As I said at the start, it's one of those games where you just wish that you could play 12 players. Yeah, Odegaard seems to be missing his first touch to get him out of them pressing situations. Just watching him get slammed off the ball, lose the ball, very spooky. It's brazy, man. It's absolutely brazy in that regards. But yeah, with that being said, people, again, I'm going to love and leave you lot. It's time for me to get some lunch. Again, we've been here just shy of 90 minutes. As usual, it's always a fantastic conversation with you guys. I appreciate your opinions, your difference of opinions, smashing the like button, all of those good things. It's amazing to be here, and especially if you've hit the like button. Big up yourselves in advance, people. Again, the good times don't stop, again, because shortly after this, I say shortly after, in the evening, I know it's not Arsenal in action. We will do an Arsenal watch-along during the weekend, but we're going to watch Newcastle versus Borussia Dortmund together. So yeah, man, if you haven't hit the like button, make sure you're doing such. Again, you lot that are tuned in on Twitch, appreciate that. Make sure you're subscribing with Amazon Prime. You lot stay safe, stay blessed. I'm going to go get something to eat because I can hear my belly talking to me when I'm trying to answer your questions. When the fun stops. But we'll link up again soon, man. Hit the like button on your way out. God bless you all. Hope you all have a productive day. One love, man.
There's always just that active red flag defenders. I think like
Easy. tongue tied.
There's always just that active red flag defending. I think